When the Wii was first released in 2006, 3 of the channels it came with didn't work. The Forecast, News, and Wii Shop Channel weren't released until after the Wii was released. But before the channels were released, early versions were shown off in videos from Nintendo. All the beta versions of the channels are lost media and have never been found. So in this video, I'll go over all the differences these versions have and also go over early Wii menu versions. I'm going to start by going over the earliest version of the Wii menu. Nintendo Revolution System Menu version 0.1 is the earliest known version of the Wii menu. It starts with a splash screen of a prototype Wii before going to the menu. At the bottom of the screen, it says to press start to play a game. The reason it says start instead of plus is because early Wii remotes have a start and select button. Early Wii remotes kinda look like a TV remote. This menu was used on an official Wii emulator during development, since the hardware for the Wii wasn't manufactured until a couple months before the Wii was released. Also, the hardware wasn't made when the Nintendo Revolution was first shown off at E3 2005. The one shown was just a shell of what the Wii would look like. Anyways, that's pretty much everything about 0.1. This was made way before the Wii menu was designed. The next Wii menu is RC1. This version automatically starts a game if it's in the Wii, probably since it was used for kiosks and to show off game demos. So to use the menu, you have to hold the Z button on a GameCube controller connected to the 4th slot. If you don't, it just gives you a black screen or starts a game if it's in. When it starts up, you see a build date showing that it was made on Sunday, September 24th, 2006, almost 2 months before the Wii was launched. When on the menu, there's no channels. I'm not sure if there were originally channels for this Wii menu version, since normal channels can't be installed correctly, since this version of the Wii menu handles displaying channels differently. Every Wii game you put in has a black banner. You're also able to highlight an empty channel even if you can't select it. I'm not sure if it's like that in the footage I have for the early Wii menu with channels, since the cursor never goes off the channels, which is probably because they couldn't fix it on time. The main difference between this and the final version is the select sound. When you select something, a different sound plays. Also, the settings aren't translated. One thing different about the Wii message board is that your playtime tells you how long you played on the disc channel. Also, the home button menu is different, showing a notification if you have Wii Mail, and I'm not sure why it was in the final version. There was also an early version of the Wii home button menu found. The beta version is a bit different. There's no audio that plays, but in the files, the sound effects are different from the final version. The button that lets you return to the Wii menu has a message icon on it, like RC1. If you look at the cursor, it looks more like a hand instead of it being more pixelated in the final version. The pop-ups for returning to the Wii menu are different. The buttons are yellow and have light blue borders. I wonder if this was originally going to be the style for the menu before they made TV channels. In the files, there's 8 courses for 8 controllers. I'm not sure if you were originally able to connect 8 controllers to the Wii instead of 4. That's everything for the early home button menu. Some early Wii games actually have beta sounds when you go through the menu. One of the games is Wet Seal. The reason why there's old sounds is because the home button menu is actually stored on the game. So every game released on the Wii has its own home button menu in the files. That's why homebrew apps on the Wii have their own home button screen instead of the normal one. That's everything about it. Now onto the early news channel. In the files, there's an unused song which uses sounds from the banner and sounds really good. I feel like it should have been used in the final channel. It was supposed to be played when viewing an article. In the final version of the channel, it plays, it just has the volume on it muted. That's why there's no music when viewing an article. Anyways, the most known early version of the channel is 1.0. It was just there as a placeholder since they couldn't release the channel on time. The thing is, this isn't the earliest version seen. At the Nintendo store in New York City, and on a Wii promo disc from 2006, an early version of the News and Weather channel with the banner was shown off. The banner has a spear grid and has text at the bottom that says around the world. The footage I found was apparently shown off at the Nintendo store. Only footage of the channel, not the actual beta channel. I actually have no idea where some of the footage I have for the channels came from since I got the footage a year ago. Anyways, this version is pretty close to the final, except some stuff is missing. The globe doesn't appear when you select an article, and no icons appear on the side of it. There's also an unused featured news section that will let you see the latest news at the top of the screen. It also has a button that lets you go to the bottom of the list and to the top. There was an interview where the developers said that it would be funny if a Mii of someone's dad read the news on the channel. It's unknown if it was ever worked on, but it would be funny to see a Mii reading the news. I think if it was implemented, it would have probably been like how the Mii's talk in Tomodachi Life. There was actually something similar in Tomodachi Collection and Tomodachi Life, but that was only news about the island. That's about it for the news channel. There isn't much of a difference between the design of the beta version and the design of the final version. It was pretty much finished, but the forecast channel is a lot different. On the Wii menu, the early forecast channel has two different banners. The first one is an orange sun flashing every second. The second one has a yellow sun and no animations. Both of them show the temperature at the bottom, with red being used for the hottest temperature and blue being used for the coldest temperature. When you're on the channel, the design is a lot different. The background is light blue and uses white text boxes, while the final version is blue and doesn't have text boxes. The sound effects used are from the photo channel, since the photo channel was used as a base for the channel. Another thing to point out is that the font used is different. To navigate, you move left and right, while the final version has you move up and down. When the globe is shown, all the icons used for the weather are different. There's also different icons in the final version, used only in Japan. The Japan version of the forecast channel uses more cartoon-like designs, while internationally, the icons look realistic. There's a laundry check feature and a pollen count feature only for the Japan version. I'm not sure why the pollen count feature wasn't for every region. In the Japan and Europe release of the channel, there's a clock on the top left of the screen. There was also a 7-day forecast feature that was exclusive to Japan. All the cool stuff is only in Japan. Anyways, that's everything about the forecast channel. Now, onto the photo channel. From what I found, it's pretty much finished. It's because the channel was developed pretty early and before some of the other channels were made. So I'll go over some obscure information about it since it's the same as the final version. So when using the slideshow feature, you are able to play any music you want from your SD card if it's an AAC or MP3 file. You are able to view images that were sent to your Wiimote either from a Wii friend or a game. It even supports videos like motion JPEG, MOV, and AVI containers. The successor was the Nintendo DSi camera and the Nintendo 3DS camera. There's two different versions, 1.0 and 1.1. 1.1 lets you set your favorite photo as the banner for the photo channel and also lets you send to the Wii message board. The only thing that might be bad is that MP3 was replaced with AAC. 1.1 can be uninstalled in the settings, but there were some Wiis in Japan that couldn't get rid of 1.1 due to a glitch. The Wiis that couldn't had to get the full channel 1.0 restore program if you want a 1.0 back. I'm not sure why they couldn't just support both at the same time. Some other facts is that an icon for print service appears if your Wii has the Digicam prints channel. It even works on a Wii from another region other than Japan, even though it wasn't released in other regions. There's also sounds from Brain Age in the files. That's everything about the photo channel. Now onto the early Mii channel. The early version of the Mii channel is close to the final version. It has different sounds, and Miis have noses that are mirrored. There's no option for setting Miis through Wiimote or returning to the Wii menu. There's also an early version of the music used, but you can't really hear it. Aside from that, there isn't much of a difference between this version and the final. One interesting thing is that RC1 stores Miis differently from the final version. If you start Wii Sports after using RC1 Mii Channel, or even start any Wii menu version after, it says to check Mii Channel data. There's actually a development disc called Mii Support Disc with the Wii Sports logo on it. It's unknown if it's related to this message, since the disc couldn't be read due to it having a big scratch on the back of the disc. When you use a newer Mii Channel version, it asks you if you want to format your Mii data. Anyways, there were early versions of Miis that were being made for a DS game. There was an avatar customization game being developed called Otana no Una Uwana Teko, or Adult Woman Fortune Telling Notebook in English. There are some pictures of it, and it resembles the Mii Maker. It had you make Miis and put them in a room kinda like Tomodachi Life. The developers working on it showed to Miyamoto, since he wanted to make an avatar customization game, and after that he started to work on it. But the team struggled to find a use for the characters. They thought about making minigames for the characters to play, but felt they would still be unused. The thing is, the team working on Wii Sports was struggling to make an aesthetic for the game. They tried using Mario characters, but they wanted a more realistic aesthetic for the game to make the player feel like they're a professional at it. So the team working on the DS started to make it for the Wii instead, so it could be used for Wii Sports and everything else on the Wii. The DS game was still released, and the game was changed to be for everyone. The game it became was Tomodachi Collection, the prequel to Tomodachi Life on the 3DS, only in Japan. It's also one of the only games on the original DS that lets you use Miis and lets you transfer them from your Wii to your DS. The Miis went through a few design changes while Wii Sports was being developed. Some of the footage from the early versions of Wii Sports show early Miis. The main difference is that they have ears and a 3D nose. That's about everything about the Beta Mii channel. On to the Wii Shop Channel. The only things I could find were 4 images that show a very early version of the design. There's no footage at all, unfortunately. The first one shows a list of games. The UI kinda looks like the one from the Beta Wii home button menu when selecting to return to the Wii menu. The games shown are able to be bought and rented, which wasn't in the final version of the Wii Shop Channel. In the final version, you could only rent stuff off a channel that has it, not on the Wii Shop Channel. The second image shows a game. The game is Sonic the Hedgehog, with a lot of different ratings on it. The third one shows information about the game. The interesting thing is that the text when translated says, a comment will be added, comment is entered, comments will be added, tips for adding comments with distortion. And the final image is the download screen. The only thing interesting is that the size shown is in bytes, not blocks. But it says remaining blocks on the left, so they probably didn't calculate the blocks yet. After this, there's an early banner. The banner for the Wii Shop Channel has games go across the screen, which is different from the banners released. That's everything for the early Wii Shop Channel. The next channel is the Disc Channel. When the Wii was first announced, there was a press release that said the Wii would have DVD playback, also that you would need an accessory for it to work. Kinda like how the original Xbox needed a dongle to play DVDs. The thing is, when the Wii was released, there was no DVD functionality, even though the hardware was capable of it. It was probably scrapped since Nintendo didn't want to pay royalty fees for every Wii console sold. The Disc Channel actually has an image in the files that shows a DVD near the other disc. The image is just set to off so it won't appear and is in the files of every single Wii menu release. I think the reason the DVD is a lot to the left is because every disc was moved to the left so the Wii and GameCube disc would be centered, since all the discs have the same distance between them. There's also an image in the files telling you how to control your TV with a Wii remote. Early Wiis can use the DVD functionality with Homebrew, but it wears out your Wii's disk drive. The next beta channel I'm going to go over is actually an early version of the Wii message board. The official name for it is the Bulletin board channel. There's only one single picture of this channel. It shows news about different Nintendo games and also shows you the weather, a notepad, and images. The screen next to it shows what happens when you select one. That's all the information I have about the Bulletin board channel. I think this looks better than the Wii message board since it has a unique art style. Now onto the beta internet channel. The beta internet channel is close to the final version, but the banner is a bit different. It has a red design instead of the blue one in the final. It's probably red since Opera made the internet channel, and their logo is red. From the footage I do have of the early version, it's pretty much finished, and is close to the trial version they released. The only thing I think would be different about it is that the web browser would be a lot older, but that's about it. When the Wii launched, almost everyone saw the channels, and also some channels that said you need to connect to the internet to use them. But a few Wiis had a different screen appear. The menu has a picture of a blue floor with a Wii on it, telling you to insert the Wii stop disc, but the disc was in the box. So a lot of the Wiis that had this message were either returned or were sent to Nintendo to be repaired. The reason this menu was made was because Wiis had to be shipped to be used for kiosks in stores before the Wii menu was finished, so the Wii stop disc menu was created and was installed on all Wiis being made at the time. This menu only accepts the Wii stop disc and certain repair disc. The title ID used for the Wii stop disc is RAAE. Every Wii menu after this has a check that stops the disc from starting if it's detected. Stores that had a kiosk before the Wii released had to use the Wii stop disc, or had a Nintendo representative go to put the disc in the Wii, then take it back to Nintendo. Since the Wii menu was finished before the Wii release, new Wiis being produced had the Wii menu pre-installed. The first Wiis that were going to be shipped with the Wii stop disc were taken out of the box and were updated to 1.0. On the box of some launch day Wiis, it says that there's a stop disc included instead of Wii Sports. It's unknown if any Wii console had the stop disc left in. The Wiis that were made after the first batch of Wiis had 2.0 installed instead of 1.0, so if your Wii had 1.0, it was one of the first Wiis ever made. The first NAND copy of it was from a Wii from 2008. This was because it was installed on a spare motherboard from 2006, which had the menu installed. One interesting thing is how the beta Wii channels were installed. The footage I have is dated back before the Wii was released, so it's possible that there's a variant of the Wii stop disc that installs all the beta channels seen in the footage. There was also a person on Reddit that said they worked on an assembly line for the Wii before it launched, and said they had to insert an SD card and 2 discs to install the Wii menu. This might be real since it mentions using an SD card and disc to install the Wii menu. This is because there was a version of Boot 2, the process that starts the Wii menu, that was only used during the manufacturing process called SD_boot. There's a total of 32 versions of it. It had the Wii be powered on for the first time with an SD card in. The SD card would have a RAD file on it that SD boot would load. It was an installer program that would install the system menu. After that, a disk card 123J would be inserted. It was probably used to update boot 1 and encrypt the NAND. After that, another disk is inserted called RVL_UJI_DIAG or 121J is put in with another SD card. The disk runs test programs on the system to make sure the console works. It then registers the Wii serial number over Waikiki. There was actually a picture of it. It is connected to the GameCube memory card port. It's also used for certain development apps. Anyways, the disk would generate settings.txt, which has the serial number on it and information that verifies the Wii to be used online. The final disk inserted is 122E and installs a RAD card data CHK from the SD card. It has data check and log check. I think this is the part mentioned in the Reddit post. The first thing it does is verify the results of 121J to make sure the logs and product information on the system are correct. Then the files from 122E's update partition are installed, which has the standard set of channels for retail with the final Wii system menu. In the files of some Wiis, it says a disk called 0003 was used after, but there's no information about what it does. Almost all the information about SD_boot was found in a log file on the Wii. There's also a disk called Wii Crusher that's used to delete everything on the Wii, the system files, and even the firmware, so SD boot could be installed. While the stop disk was found, It only installed the Wii menu and channels it came with on the Wii. It doesn't do anything else. One of the reasons people wanted to find the disc was since it was believed it could help recover bricked Wiis, but it didn't. There's at least 11 different versions of the startup disc. This is probably the most interesting thing on this list. That's all the beta Wii channels. Some of them didn't really have much footage for them and only had images. The original versions of the channels are lost media and haven't been found yet. It would be cool if they were found, since it might be possible to make the early versions work with Wii Link or Wii Connect 24. Also, I don't think anyone has made a video about the beta versions of the channels or went in depth about them. That's all for this video. Like and subscribe if you want to see more stuff about the Wii. Goodbye and have a wonderful day.